Hey, Michael, let's play a game of how well do you know your partner? What is my favorite, or who is my favorite organization in the NFL? My favorite.
Oh, yes. Favorite organization, that would be the Baltimore Ravens.
I just love the way they do and have done business over the years. And they've made a major move today in the form of acquiring two-time All-Pro linebacker Roquan Smith, playing on an expiring contract. Remember, he had the hold in this offseason with the Bears.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, we saw him literally move to tears when Robert Quinn was traded to another aggressive organization, the Philadelphia Eagles, for a fourth-round pick. Roquan Smith goes to the Baltimore Ravens just moments ago for second and fifth-round picks in the 2023 draft. The Ravens already had two fifth-round picks. This is a guy who is leading the league in tackles this season, and over the last 5 seasons, only Bobby Wagner has more tackles than Roquan Smith. They're just always there at the end, making smart moves like this, fortifying that defense. Charles, bro, what do you think of this move?
They know who they are. I mean, the Ravens are, this is very on brand. I mean, he and Patrick Queen together, man, that's a lot of speed. That's a lot of playmaking.
Yeah.
Right. And on a defense that needs it, right? I mean, let's be real here. Like they need help up front. I hope this isn't their only move, though. You know, I do think that there's potentially other opportunities out there for them, particularly considering that the Rashad Bateman injury could be a little more elongated than they expect. But if you had asked me, given playoff window, style, fit, all these different things, pick a team. This is it. This is the team. This is the team I would have put him on. It's perfect for them. And I also think this is the destination too, where realistically they could potentially work out a long-term deal with him. As you said, he's on an expiring contract, but I think
they'll pay him. They're not cheap. Contrary to the Lamar Jackson negotiation and the perception around that, not that they're shortchanging Lamar Jackson, they pay their players.
Right. Yeah. And another thing, too, people should understand this kind of addition. Defensive additions are great because they can typically step in pretty quickly, contribute really quickly. Offensive additions, there's more of a, it takes time to adjust and
they play next week at New Orleans, so there's a longer week, if you will, before they play New Orleans on Monday night. Then they have their bye.
Yep.
And then, again, this is the NFL, but here's the schedule. Play host to the Panthers on the 20th of November. They visit the Jaguars on the 27th. Play host to the Broncos on December 4th. At the Steelers on December 11th. Then they get the Browns, the Falcons, the first place Falcons, the Steelers again, and then they finish with the Bengals. So, favorable schedule, if we could say that in today's NFL.
Yeah, they have a chance to get rolling.
I would say this, though. Well, Charles, I want to look at the other side of it, though. I mean, as Michael pointed out, they already traded Robert Quinn for a fourth-round pick to Philadelphia. Yep. Now they trade Roquan Smith. Shout out to him because he expressed himself. He made himself very clear before the season started. They weren't working with him. He wanted a new contract. He wasn't going to get it. He said, I'm going to focus on the season, and he has. He has played well. The team hasn't, but he has. But they get a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. So you trade two great players, and you get draft picks back, no first-rounders. I understand Ryan Poles, new general manager, but if I'm ownership, it can't just be we're rebuilding. Yeah, and what? Like, what's your plan? Like, what are you doing? Tell me something beyond, hey, these draft picks could turn into good players. Yeah, that's obvious. What's your vision for the Chicago Bears? Because if I'm a Bears player or a Bears fan today, I'm extremely discouraged.
Well, first off, your vision is to not pay a linebacker $18 to $20 million in a rebuild that's going to take. By the way, that does not rush the passer. In a situation where you're looking at a build that there's a lot to address here, okay? And I also think there is a mindset of if what we're starting to see from Justin Fields, this is like, okay, we're starting to see some traction. if we're going to start to trust him throwing downfield, like they need as many draft picks as possible to fortify things around him. And I know Matt Eberflus is a defensive coach, but I think the way that you approach this is Eberflus can get his guys in there that he wants on defense, that he knows fit his scheme, what he wants to do, and then you pour a lot of the draft assets into building around Justin Fields, if indeed that is their guy moving forward, if they can figure that out by the end of the season. I just think it's about who are you paying and what is your window. They don't have a window. Yeah. So you're going to eat up a lot of his contract in something that's not a window. Yeah, and by the way, no one's doing team-friendly deal and quote-unquote team-friendly. Everybody wants the 3-year deal, the 4-year deal. They want and this is another younger guy who wants a shorter-term deal so that he can get to free agency again before he runs out of his prime. And it just, I from a financial, sense, I get this. And also from a building sense, if you're going to build around Justin Fields, you need as many picks as possible.
Well, Mike, in picks to do what Baltimore has done for Lamar Jackson, you asked what's their vision. Coincidentally, they should be looking at Baltimore and how they've tailored their offense, tight ends, obviously offensive line, running quarterback. They don't throw it enough to say, oh, they got to have a big-time wide receiver out there.
Right.
We saw the second half of this last game against Tampa. They won that game because they remembered who they are, and they ran the ball in the second half. If Justin Fields is going to be doing these design runs like this, maybe they need to be treating Justin Fields like their version of Lamar Jackson.
And they're catching on to what I hope is a trend moving forward in the league, that you can now take some of these speedy receivers or guys who simply just need the ball in their hands and figure out a way to give it to them. That doesn't necessarily mean you got to throw. I like Devin Duvernay, who, by the way, Michael Smith turned down the trade last week. But anyway,
don't you dare bring up that trade.
I want to go ahead. I want to go ahead and get the ball in his hands because he's fast. Deebo Samuel. I think there's just you have teams. I think are now looking at wide receivers and saying, can we turn more of these guys into hybrid players, run reverses, run sweeps, figure out ways just to get the ball in their hands so that they can use that speed and not necessarily just make it targets down the field.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.